All right, everyone. Today is May 14th, 2024. This is going to be our May GSERA general membership meeting. And tonight we're going to be discussing residency. What is residency? What's the importance of residency? Why do we go to residency besides the requirement portion? What benefits are behind residency? I've been to two already. Some of us have been to two, maybe more. I'm not sure. We have Boston Residency around the corner in July, and it's a Friday to Saturday this year. Last year it was a Thursday night to Saturday. A lot of people will be flying in on Thursday to get an early start on Friday and maybe staying overnight on Saturday to have a comfortable evening and ride home on Sunday morning. So it depends on what people are doing. But just an introduction. I want to do introductions because we do have a full board here and one of our advisors here. So my name is Dennis Soares. I'm president of the Graduate Student Education Research Association at Northeastern University. And I'm going to pass the mic over to Dr. Mark to introduce himself.
Vice President in my second term, pleased to be here and thoroughly enjoyed the residency last year. And thankful to Dr. Alex Venuto, who is our official advisor, who I don't think could make it with us this evening, but he has a designated hitter who will introduce himself.
Hey, Carolyn?
Carolyn Mezek. I am the GSERA secretary, basically, and I will be sending out a newsletter starting this Friday. Look for it in your email.
Yes, I do have my presence report. I gotta add some grammar points to it, but I'll be coming to you soon, Carolyn. I did not forget, I promise. Sherry.
Hi, I'm Sherry Wilkoskis. I'm the treasurer for GSERA. This is my first term on the board. I am kind of midstream. I've done most of my coursework, but coming up on R3 and R4 to round out my classes at the very end of this year and early next year. And then
Awesome. Jennifer.
And I'm Jennifer Miller, the program director for GSERA for the mentoring program. And I'm still pretty early on in my studies as well, so on the journey with many of you.
Excellent. Dr. Anderson.
Yes, good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew Anderson, Dr. Anderson, faculty member, and I think now I'm officially co-advising with Dr. Rondudo with GSERA, which I'm really excited about to continue working with this amazing group.
Yes, Dr. Anderson joined us as an interim advisor while Alex was on parental leave, and then we just sucked him in, and so now we're lucky enough to have two great advisors. That's right. Couldn't get rid of me. I'm in it.
Right. Awesome. Well, it's great to have everyone here. The board members. We have some GSERA members attending tonight as well. So. I'll start real quick and then I'll just pass the torch over to the board. So basically we want to talk about what residency is and maybe what it means to us. So I've attended two Boston residencies already in person. I did register for this summer's residency as well. So this is my third, and I don't need to go to three. Two is the requirement. And I'm going to represent GSERA, and also, I'm going to be honest, my first residency, I was probably my third course. I took F1, R1, and I think it was in Dr. Anderson's course, the curriculum course, during the time of residency. So I had no idea what I was going into. I was listening to presentations about R3, R4, F3. I didn't know what I was looking at. To be very honest with you, I was very overwhelmed with the amount of work that was being presented during that residency, but was very grateful because it was really outlined super clear for us at that residency, all residencies really, but reflecting back on my first residency 2 years ago when I was really, it was pre-IRB. I really didn't even understood what IRB was yet at that point either. But it really was a good opportunity to review and see an outline of what the process looked like in the presence of advisors, professors, colleagues or classmates who have already gone through some or all of the process, colleagues who are with me at the very beginning, having the opportunity to have lunch with some of these individuals, and able to pick the brains of fellow classmates, and having lunch with professors and breakfast with professors and coffee. So it was a really, really cool experience for me. Last summer, I went, and I think I was in a different spot because last summer I was part of the GSERA board, as was Mark. I was the program director. I did the mentoring stuff. So my outlook was a little different because I was a little bit more involved. Being involved in GSERA, I had a little bit more ownership in the program. But at that point, I understood what R3 and R4 meant. And I kept reflecting back last summer on where I was the summer before. And it was pretty wild because the first summer I was scratching my head and really questioning whether or not I could do all this work, being a full-time school administrator, a dad, a landlord, all those things, right? So I think what residency did for me was it also allowed me to meet people and develop, in my opinion, some lifelong friendships. I made some friends 2 years ago at the residency, and I'm still in contact with them today. We text all the time, as a matter of fact. Mark, I consider him family because we've been on this board now 2 years. He's not a stranger to me, as well as the other board members. So we meet a couple of times a month. We see each other on Zoom. So, but then seeing people in person and realizing how tall some of these people actually are is pretty funny as well, because you're used to seeing everyone in Zoom. I remember seeing, I'm gonna throw a name out, Mamadou or Dr. Mamadou now, for the first time 2 summers ago. We gave each other a big hug, and Dr. Anderson, myself, Mamadou, and another individual took a picture, and I still have that photo today. So there was a lot of meaningful stuff that came out of both residencies. I think each residency you go to has meaning and significance, as I just presented to you, right? Going there as a novice and going there after a few courses under your belt, and really reflecting on the differences between the 2 summers and where you've started and where you've been. I mean, I'm going to go to this residency in a few months, and I'm going to be in 87, 61 at that point. So to really look back, and look at my journey, and I look at residencies, a residency as a checkpoint too for myself, to check in with myself and people, and see where everyone else is at, and you see some of the similar faces there as well. So that's what residency has done for me, and I say all this because a lot of what I said is not articulated in writing. It's basically more an experience, and people are on the fence of, I have to fly to Boston and all that stuff. I mean, like Dr. Mark lives in Florida, so he flies up to Boston, so he makes it a little bit more of a trip for himself and his family. Where I live, about an hour and 15 minutes south of Boston. So I'm going to open the floor to the rest of the board members to talk about their meaning of residency, how it feels to them, and why they think it's important to them.
Well, I'd say that my first residency, I was a Northeastern student for 4 days. So I had no idea what they meant by F1, R1. As far as I can tell, there was an alphabet and it had numbers with it, and that was it for my first residency. But I found that there were a bunch of people who were in the same exact boat as I was in. And it also gave us a chance to not look stupid when we asked what exactly is an R and then the F question. So that was a big deal for that. So I knew what I was getting into when the fall quarter came up, because I started in the summer. And then last year's residency, I actually got to check back in with a lot of those people, and we're all in the same point where we're R4 are 8750, and we're all just getting to that point where we almost think we know what we're doing. Almost. So it was really nice to actually reconnect with the people I started with.
Well, I attended a virtual, it was the end of COVID. So I attended a virtual at Charlotte, a virtual at Seattle, and then in person last summer in Boston. And during my first one, I was worse than Carolyn. I was embarrassed to ask anyone. I was wondering how long the semesters lasted because nobody told me we were on a quarter system. I mean, that wasn't part of any like orientation or you're just starting your first class. And I was assigned a temporary chair who was just given to me. And that person talked to me once for 5 minutes and said, if I ever need anything, let him know. And then the only professor who did not give me an A was the one who I connected with and ended up becoming my chair. And I got introduced to the Five Horses Tavern now, which is my new favorite place in Boston. But I think we talked about this in our board meeting, and I was thinking about similarities between residency and probably going back to the Middle Ages and theological studies. And I went to a high school which was dedicated to the spirit of Desiderius Erasmus and founded by Alexander Hamilton and John Jay. And residency is sort of like a retreat. I can imagine when you study divinity or for the clergy, then after a while, yes, there's a social value to it, and we have cocktails and we have meetings and seminars, but there's also a reflective sanctity within academe that allows us to get together with colleagues with whom we would not meet personally otherwise. And to stress that a little bit, and I truly believe it's not facetious, at Northeastern, the foundation of the pioneers of the internships and the cooperative education, the degree was never referred to as online learning. It was always, I earned my doctorate in education. And if anyone pushed you a little bit, it's a remote program. And that element of residency, whether it's one weekend a term or 2 times a year or twice in your tenure, that element of residency creates something different than a fully asynchronous or synchronous online learning program, because it brings us into a level which more approaches the face-to-face on-campus learning than other institutions have. So I think it's important. It's extremely expensive if you do not live in the Boston area. We can get to this a little later on. And every day on Yammer and Northeastern CPS, every person in the world who's coming to Boston looking for an apartment tells you how much they have to spend, who they'd like to room with, whether they're vegans, what they like to listen to in terms of music. And I would encourage now in May, in your coursework, find people who live within an hour of Boston who maybe you could stay with during residency. Because with all due respect to the committee, which has done a great job, when I clicked on the site last night after registering and housing before, and there was no option for the dormitory yesterday, it's up today. But the first thing that hit my screen was a beautiful pop-up ad from the Westin Hotel with a special rate of $339 a night, if special to Northeastern students, if you book by June 1st. And you really need to be in Thursday night so you can take advantage of the Friday activities. And there may be something on Sunday morning with friends or breakfast, so you meet. So 3 or 4 or 5 nights in Boston, and your airfare or your mileage money and your meals. For many, many families, this is a significant financial burden. Yes, there are school districts that pay for it. yes, there are some employers who reimburse you. That's not the case for everyone. So to summarize, it's the essence of a remote doctoral degree, which is somewhat different from the typical online degree. It's a tremendous networking experience where you will make collaborative peer connections, which will carry you forward into your post doctoral work. And it enables you to get the feel for being on campus and being part of the Northeastern community. So the defense rests, Your Honor, if there are no further questions.
Anyone else on the board that want to talk about residency and Shari or Jen?
Well, I've been to the last two Boston residencies. So, kind of I started classes in January 2022. So I've attended both the summer 22 and the summer 23, and I'll be back. I have already registered um to be back again this year. And I had a little bit more of my legs under me than you were talking about, Carolyn, but I still found the first residency for me an incredibly valuable way to like wrap my brain around the map and the longer term arc of this program that even as I was thinking, oh, okay, well, because of where I am in my studies, I'm going to go to this workshop about kind of thinking of how to plan for cycle zero. I see the workshops about the literature review. I see workshops about the IRB process, and it helped me actually just like begin to um create my own map of what these different flags and milestones were going to be across the longer term experience. um I also find it to be a really valuable way of expanding the colleagues and the faculty who I know and who I can build connections with outside of the few courses I managed to take and the folks who are in those classes on Canvas with me. And so that sense of finding affinities outside of coursework and kind of creating those connections has been really valuable to me. And I do think there's something that Mark was referring to about like there is a difference between the reputation of doctoral programs that are still committed to some degree of having this kind of residency, having this kind of connection and networking across students and between students and faculty, as opposed to those doctoral programs that are just 100% fully online. And so I really appreciate that Northeastern has by kind of maximizing the value of that 2-day residency, but not requiring us to pay to go to Boston one weekend every month over the school year, that it's a really great balance of kind of value for the dollar um as a way to address the very real kind of economic decisions we all have to juggle as working adults and spouses or parents or caregivers to older parents and stuff like that. So that's one of the things that I've really appreciated about um kind of the quality of experience over that day and a half or over those 2 days, but the fact that it's not this recurring expense and it's not this recurring demand to plan days off of work all of the time. So like from my perspective as a 9 to 5 nonprofit person, that's been really valuable to me.
Excellent. Before I talk about the social and other aspects to the residency in particular, I mean, there are poster sessions, there are keynote speakers. Dr. Anderson, one of our faculty advisors, he also ventures over to residency himself. He actually takes the train from Providence to residency, which is kind of something a little different that none of us have ever, to my knowledge, have ever done. I haven't done. I could, but I haven't. Maybe he can talk to that, and maybe his experiences as a professor or an instructor in residency, meeting his students face to face for the first time.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, perfect. Yeah, thank you, Dennis, for that. I couldn't agree more with all the sentiments that people made about residency, and it's a bit of a going to doctoral camp, and it's exciting. And I think if you have that mindset and that headspace of going there, it's away from kind of wherever you're obviously traveling from, and be open to connecting with new people, be open to reconnect with classmates and even professors alike. You really can get a lot out of the experience. Obviously, content, direction, but also those connections that you can make that you're going to take with you from the residency moving forward. And I would encourage you, if you if you see a professor that you might have, reach, say hello, connect with them, touch base with them. Maybe there's a professor that you heard about, introduce yourself. If you see folks that are in your thought partner groups or your discussion posts, set that time aside and try to have that face-to-face conversation. It really is, for me, I think it really makes it completes and rounds out our doctoral program of having that face-to-face time. And if you go in there with that right headspace and mindset that you're going to try to get really get not through it, but really get from the experience, I know that you're going to take those experiences with you, and it's only going to make you better. And I think, just to reiterate too, when you're picking the workshops, talk to your colleagues that you're sitting with. Say, maybe someone went to residency before. I think this is Dennis's ninth time going to, no, a few times. So lean in on some of those folks that been there before. Say, hey, I'm here in the program. What do you think? Right. And choosing workshops that are meaningful to you and where you are in the journey. I think that's a really, really important piece. That's a really, really great advice. I live fairly close to Boston. I'm just, as they said, just a train away. And for me, it just makes sense to be able to commute back and forth. It's really not much at all from the Providence to Ruggles. It's just under an hour. It's really easy to do. But once you're there, it really is a fantastic experience. So I look forward to seeing everyone there.
All right, so Jen Miller is our program director. Jen oversees the mentoring and mentee program. So last residency, I did what Jen did, and Jen's going to experience, or I'm going to experience this summer, when I had mentors and mentees come up to me and ask me questions. So I'm going to let Jen talk a little bit about what she's doing and also her experience at residency.
Thank you, Dennis. So what I'm hoping for, excuse me, I'm navigating motherhood while on the call, so we're in it together. So when it comes to that, first of all, I want every mentor mentee to come in and feel empowered to introduce themselves to me in person, because I like to think of residency as a names to faces and faces to names. We oftentimes see each other on Canvas and we see names, and sometimes we see these little small avatars next to our names, but it's different when you get to meet people up close and personal. Just like Dennis said, in terms of height, that's one thing, but also in terms of just getting to know people in person makes it feel more real. At least that was one of the big things for me. And the second thing is that if I gave myself advice in terms of going to residency now, I probably would have a better method of sharing contact information. Like Mark said, Dr. Mark, it's going to be a networking opportunity as well. And it's important to connect with other scholars and other people that are much like you in terms of within the journey, but also wanting to make change in some way. And I think that that's really important to navigate, but also really important to connect with others. And then finally, when it comes to just resources and connecting with other people and also learning the ropes through other experiences, there's that. But I also want to focus on going in with a question of what don't I know about this program and what does the program offer me that I might not be aware of. For me, it was that there's a career design office and they do offer services to students. There are websites that have different careers and opportunities for students that I wasn't aware of. There's also connections with entrepreneurship and things like that. So going in with an open mind and questioning mind and asking, hey, what don't I know? And what can I learn now is going to be really key, I think, for anybody. But again, going back to the main thing, I probably will be in some ways having a business card or a link ready, because I think that would make connections much easier for people. So I hope you guys enjoy residency. I live in Attleboro, so I took the train in myself. Please know the transit app in terms of Boston. So make sure that you're prepared with that, and wear some comfortable shoes.
Awesome, thank you. So I gave an opportunity for everyone to talk about their residency experience. So just a couple of things that aren't really touched upon when residencies are advertised. So there are poster sessions that occur during residency that allow for students to showcase their research up to the point of where they are to students, and giving opportunity for spectators such as myself. I've never done a poster session before. I do enjoy going through and looking at them. It gives us an opportunity to see the work that some of us are doing. And for me, I was able to find some posters or research that other colleagues were doing that were related to some of the research that I've been doing. So which was fascinating on a personal level, because some of the research that others were doing that was similar to mine, my specific research rather. Questions were different. So the outcome or how they were investigating their problem in practice was a little different, but I noticed some similarities of what I was doing to what I was viewing. And we can allow for some board members to talk about participating in poster sessions. I've never done a poster. I have friends that have done poster sessions, and the experience for them was very positive. There is work involved. It's almost like taking a second class on the side, as well. It was described to me by individuals who have done it. But you're allowed to keep the poster for yourself, which is really nice, as a kind of like a showcase tool for yourself where you're at, whether if you're at the end or close to it, whenever you when that poster is presented. Additionally, there's a social that the GSERA does sponsor. We are sponsoring a social event Saturday after residency. The location is still to be determined. I'll have a brief meeting tomorrow morning with Dr. Frontudo about our last board meeting on what we discussed, and to present that to him. And we do a social session to give us an opportunity to kind of unwind and talk more on a personal level about who we are as individuals, because we all have lives outside of this research. Let's be real, right? So outside of Northeastern, I'm a school administrator, I'm a dad, I'm a landlord, like I said earlier. I do a lot of different things too that no one would know about unless we would have maybe like a ginger ale or something, and have a conversation, right, over maybe some nachos or whatever we'll be serving this year. So last year we were able to find a spot within walking distance from Northeastern University. The year before that, we found a spot right across the street from the hotel that Northeastern was pushing us to use. I recommend it because honestly, it's where I learned the most about GSERA, was at the social 2 summers ago, where I had a conversation with the mentoring coordinator, and I was looking for a mentor myself, and I ended up becoming the facilitator of the program a few months after that. So, and additionally, there's one day, I think it's Saturday this year, where we're going to be offering food trucks, not just GSERA, but the university will be offering food trucks for lunch. That's a cool opportunity. It's about a 2-hour lunch. It's a cool social time as well for students to grab lunch and sit down and talk within university in the commons area. The first day, lunch is on our own, and there are some places within walking distance. And a snack bar is also open on Friday, which is what I chose to do last year's first day on campus, instead of getting lost because I didn't want to be late to any of the sessions. And then finally, and I want the board to chip in too, is once you register, you're going to have an opportunity to look at some sessions on top of the keynote speakers to help motivate why we are here and we do what we do. The keynote sessions are unique to us as students. My first year, I went to many sessions that talked about more or less Research 101, because I was still at that point, I was in my third course. And then last summer, I was going through, or I was visiting cycle 1 analysis and coding, and what cycle 2 looks like, because that's where I was at that point in my research journey. So there is a good mix of sessions for students, and residency also holds panel sessions where they have students or faculty members or alumni talk about their experiences to help students navigate themselves through their journey. So there is a lot of possibility in attending residency to become a better researcher and a better student and a better person at the end of it. I do want to open up to the board if they want to comment on anything I just said. I'm sure I opened up a can of worms with that. So.
Well, I mean, thanks, Dennis. One of the things I'd love to add on top of, your discussion of the poster session. I have not yet done a poster, although I am planning to submit a poster for this year's residency. One of the things I did learn, sort of talking to some of my faculty mentors along the way over the last year, is the intention of this poster session is really to show our work at multiple stages of our research. And so it's not something to think about, oh, I can't do a poster session unless I'm at my dissertation. It really is meant to be like any time after R2, once you've done cycle 0 and are beginning to kind of think about your questions and your problem of practice in some really concrete ways, then you probably have something that you can work with your chair to kind of identify as a poster. And so like I'm in that, I'm through R2, but like I said, I haven't taken R3 yet, but I still have enough of my thoughts gathered that I want to share where I am now and have that opportunity to get feedback from my peers before I go into R3 to really help me be better at the work I want to do. And so the design of these poster sessions is really kind of intentional as an opportunity for all of us at different stages in our doctoral journey to be able to share our thinking and benefit from that exchange of ideas and exchange of resources.
Perhaps we should mention what it looks like. It's a large room with easels. And I really love just sitting on this side and watching the entire process. And here's my description. Think back to high school. This is the anti-science fair. There's nobody walking around with a scoreboard or a clipboard evaluating you. And what actually starts to happen is people start talking to the student who created, or the fellow learner who created the poster, and some friends who are going to meet them for a cocktail come by and they start talking. And the primary case that I mentioned to Dennis was a doctoral student who most people didn't know he was a police officer, I think in Mystic, Connecticut. And I mean, he was like SWAT team. He was like, like Elliot and Olivia. I mean, he was a cop, and he was putting up, and people started gathering around, and suddenly, and there were no chairs, so suddenly, for about an hour, 15 people are around this poster, and they're talking about applications for school security and welfare, and that was happening around the room, and it was real, it was palpable, and it was creating the essence of what residency was about. So I agree with Sherry, but it's an actual open source. And I think it's one of the beneficial aspects of the residency.
And if I could just add on from just my perspective, and I know as I say this that most doctoral students come into obviously any program wanting to do the best job possible, right? They're driven, they're committed, they want to put their best foot forward with it, which is awesome. I really admire that about doctoral students. But what I also think is important from doctoral professors to communicate is that we also realize this is your first time doing a dissertation, right? So like anyone's first time doing anything, there's a lot of learning opportunities that come up. And I think a lot of the professors understand that. They give grace to the students, and I think it's important that students give themselves grace, because I know it can be nerve-wracking about getting your ideas out there and sharing them and wanting to be perfect. None of this work is perfect. It's messy. It should be messy. It's qualitative research. It's action research. It's about continuous improvement. So kind of set that aside and just be okay with it being messy, and it should be, right? And the second point I just wanted to add is that every time, regardless of where you are in this program, from like you're coming in from your problem of practice to you're getting ready for your dissertation defense, every time you, even during your dissertation defense, every time you talk about your topic, it becomes more and more clear and more crystallized. So that in itself is a learning opportunity when you can talk to someone else who is in the same type of headspace, that and you're really able to come to a deeper understanding of what we're trying to achieve. And the last thing is just be open for feedback, because that feedback that you receive can help the process to become that much more crystallized, that much better. So just wanted to offer those three perspectives, because I know posters, people, room, presenting can make people nervous, but to Mark's point, really it's a great opportunity just to network and connect. So no worries there.
Awesome. So we have Fatima and Mamadou. I'm putting them on a spot. GSERA members on. I know they've both attended residency at some point. Is there anything you want to add to? Because what we're going to be doing, this is being recorded, and I'm going to put this in the video, send out the membership for anyone who could not make it tonight. Is there anything that you would like to add to tonight's residency discussion?
Just Mamadou here. Just I think residency personally turns out to be one of the best experience I had at Northeastern, because I got to meet people, like you were saying earlier. You see somebody like John Goff. I never thought that John Goff was that tall. So we met and we took picture, and then we connected. It's like it took us beyond just taking classes together and graduating and having a diploma. We created connections, and those connections go very far. I don't think it would have been that strong if we've just done Zoom meeting. I know we had a lot of Zoom meetings since I don't know, so many years, but meeting and seeing people and sharing lunch and so on made it stronger, and getting help from everybody is that connection. Once we don't build and solidify those connections. Once we're gone, and then it's a rare opportunity. I attended Boston, I believe, two summer ago. Then I tried to go to Charlotte last time because I wanted to see Charlotte, and unfortunately it got canceled. And recently I went to Seattle. It was the first time in 30 what years in America I went to the West Coast. That was very, very interesting to see people. Like you see people talking, you see professor, you come close to them and you can share a lot of things. I love it. Anybody who doesn't take advantage of that opportunity is missing a great thing.
I agree. I think networking was really important for me during the residency. And also, I got a chance to talk about my research and to meet others to hear about their research and to see that in person. Like reading it on Canvas is different than hearing it in person. So that was exciting part for me.
Right, and I get to see Fatima and Mamadou in person for the first time, and they're in my courses. So I remember the first time I met Fatima, I approached the table and asked her if the seat was taken. So we gave each other a big hug. So yeah, it was cool to see her for the first time in person. And Mamadou, I saw him from the back. You can't miss him. He was surrounded by people, and yeah, the rest itself. So
Could
does
I
anyone
jump in?
Sure, please.
And also I got to meet my mentor, Fatima, as well in person. So it's a great opportunity for mentors and mentees to connect.
Yes, yes.
So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add before we close tonight's membership meeting?
And I just want to go to something that I think Dennis said, or maybe Dr. Anderson said, because we do so many things in groups and online, and there are always special TED Talks or conferences. And then there are still things where we're invited as doctoral students. Sometimes we'll get a notice saying, hey, on campus, be here, but if you want to attend online, you can register. And I was thinking about, I had never been in a class taught by Dr. McNabb, and yet in my first couple of quarters, he always seemed to be sending out advisory notices and things about counseling and help with any problems you might need with the Snell library. And then on the two virtual residencies, he conducted one or two of the seminars, and I attended them. And I was personally astounded in Boston walking into the room where he was scheduled to speak. And he came over and welcomed me by name. He remembered me from my picture and my name because it was that if we have been kind of like colleagues in a way within this thing. And the residency solidifies that between you and your classmates and also some faculty members. And it was humbling. It was really humbling because the more I learned about him and the more I saw the way other people responded to him, he's like one of the really great institutions at Northeastern. And he remembered me. And that's heavy. That's heavy. And I think it's why we decided to have tonight's program about residency, because it's an intangible that I'm not sure shows up in the program when you see the printed program. That's all I have, Dennis.
Mm-hmm. I think the only other two things that I'd add really quickly. One, in addition to the opportunity to meet folks that I've been taking classes with, the fact that each residency does have a session where folks who are in specific concentrations have a chance to meet one another like across the arc of the program. So like I'm in integrative studies. And so to be able to meet the other doctoral students in integrated studies and hear out, kind of baby projects in R1 all the way through to folks who are I'm defending 3 months from now, and build that kind of cross cohort connection in addition to connections with those people who I've been taking classes with has been something that I really treasure. And then the other piece is just there is an alchemy of meeting 3D and of meeting face to face. That we've learned to do a lot of stuff online and to do a lot of stuff beautifully online. I think, kind of Northeastern's design for most of our courses as remote learning courses are among the better ones I've seen. But still, that magic of being able to give one another a hug, of hearing what someone's laugh sounds like there is just that deepening that, like Mark just said, of the relationships and of the affinity that I really value from having that chance to be, kind of in 3D space with my colleagues and my fellow doctoral students.
It was fun to actually meet the other people who decided the choose your own adventure version of the doctoral program, because we don't fit into any cohort. Yeah. Because we're taking classes from everywhere. So it was so nice to actually be in a room of people that were all on the same page going, we don't quite fit in the box.
Right. I mean, yeah, I mean, we don't know what to say to that. Yeah, I think everyone has different perspectives on how they view things, and I think that's what makes all of us unique. So, on that, so it's 8:55 p.m. I think we're gonna wrap things up. I want to thank the board for your time tonight to discuss your experiences with residency, and we hope to, if you're viewing this and you're going to be at residency, whether if it's your first, second, or third time, if you see one of us there, please say hello. I'm not sure if every one of us will be there. I know I'll be in attendance. I know some of us might not be able to make it just due to personal circumstances. And that's fine, but just know that we are a board that his vision is to build camaraderie among students, to attempt to eliminate that loneliness within the research process, to find colleagues that are similar to you or us to reach out to for our support. We do have that mentoring program that Jen talked about earlier. If you are interested in becoming a mentor or being a mentee, please visit our website. It can, I hate to say it like this, but if you Google Northeastern GSERA, GSERA, it'll come right up. Also, we're on Facebook and Instagram as well, and our websites are on those platforms. So, on that note, I'm going to close shop. And I want to thank everyone formally for listening to us and attending tonight's meeting. Thank you and good night.
Good night, everyone. Thanks.